Hello and welcome to another episode of SuperConnectivity, Spoilers Edition. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Usser, and with me as always is...
Phil, who am I, Parrish?
Who are you, Phil? Big warning. Phil and I have both finished watching Jessica Jones. So we will be discussing it. There may be spoilers. It's a free-flowing conversation, so if you do not want spoilers for the new Jessica Jones series, you can pause this recording, go watch them, then come back and listen to our discussion.
Come back in 13 hours.
Yes, come back in 13 hours. Well, for what it's worth, it's that is on demand. This is on demand. It's fairly easy. You don't have to keep on. It's not like you have to have us on pause and then now I'm done. Okay, now unpause. No, you can just close out your app, open up the Netflix app, watch the shows at your leisure, and then come back and say, yes, I agree with Charlie's ideas, or Charlie, you fool, or Phil, that was a great point. As I'm sure you all do, talk along at home. So anyway, one thing, and just because it just shocked me, I just 2 seconds ago I flipped up my Facebook page on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. feed, and they had an "Are You Inhuman" poster with Ward, hands covered in fire and holding a mystical chain. I don't know if this is something that someone mocked up because they want to say that Ward is Hellfire and not Taskmaster, which is the official party line of Nuffstead, or if they actually have released that. I got to imagine that that's a pretty big reveal to put in the middle of an advertisement, but still, it's interesting. Or maybe they're doing with S.H.I.E.L.D. what they have done in the past with other things where they put out ads that are intentionally misleading. So. They'll do "Are You Inhuman?" and they're gonna maybe next they'll have Fitz with like Iceman powers or little spider webs coming out of his hands. Fitz is Spider-Man. That makes sense. Okay. So enough with that. We will keep you posted as we learn more about the mystery of "Are You Inhuman?" And
I have one question though about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They had that advertisement about the mid-season finale in like some of the comic books this week. Is that this Tuesday coming up? Is that the mid-season already?
I gotta assume it is. Yeah, it's either this season. It's either this week or next week. I don't know how many. I know they paused for Thanksgiving, but I think they're gonna have one in December, and then we maybe get reruns until Agent Carter starts in January, and then it's back to the 50s, folks, with Agent Carter 23 Skidoo. I'm working on it. And of course, Agent Carter is coming back. We can talk Agent Carter for a few minutes. Where we get from the latest trailer, we don't know who the African American actor is, who she's dealing with there. I don't know if he's supposed to be someone. If that's maybe the MCU version of Isaiah Bradley or something else. We'll have to see. That would be interesting. She does kiss him in the trailer, so that'll be controversial. It'll be interesting to see if we get, we get a lot of the why the good old days were lousy for gender reasons. Maybe next we'll find out why they were lousy for racial reasons. Yay, the past. It was awful. Which it really was. Let's be honest here. I mean, I think that is one of the uniting things about the past is that if we really want to be awful, that was awful. That's why we all live in the future now, because the past was awful.
Well, that's the good thing about life. That's the good thing about life. It gets better as it goes on.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Or at least it's a whole new set of problems. That's what we can say. It's a whole new set of problems. Yes, but no, but the past sucks. That's why we live in the future. And people who want to go to the past, it's because they don't remember that it sucked. But yeah, the past sucked, and pretty uniformly throughout history, the past was awful. Which is why when King or Rama-Tut first decides to go back in time, you see, if you're Rama-Tut, you can go back in time, but you bring all your technology with you, and And so it's not as bad for Ramatut. Ramatut goes, and he has flush toilets when he goes to, or whatever they actually had in his future world, they're waste disintegrator pods or whatever, and he brings that with him when he goes to ancient Egypt. He's not pooping in the Nile there. It is a different thing when you time travel in that fashion. But yes, so one thing actually I did want to also, speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we'll get to Jessica Jones eventually, but also speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so here's my crazy theory for the big, so in the last episode we got our big Hydra reveal that Hydra is this ancient organization, and of course we may be seeing that S.H.I.E.L.D. is also an ancient organization along the lines too. But I was thinking, they talk about the exiled Inhuman, and it got me thinking about the group's name is Hydra, and a Hydra kind of like a Medusa, and this idea that if the royal family are an old group, then perhaps Black Bolt. Black Bolt could be the exiled Inhuman because he was too powerful to control, so they sent him to Ego. Because they figured, either he'd kill Ego or Ego would kill him. But either way, it's not their problem anymore. And then Medusa sort of is working to bring him back, and and the creation of Hydra was part of that. So that even goes into what we have in Medusa's actual past, which is that she did wind up in that villain. When she gets separated from the royal family, she winds up working with the wizard and being this evil Inhuman monster. So I don't know if we're going to get the royal family here because there is an Inhuman movie in the work. But then again, they did Star Trek movies, and that started out as a TV show. So I do not put anything past Marvel at this point, and I do think that they could introduce the Inhumans on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and do an Inhumans movie without too much difficulty. In fact, I can see Marvel even starting to work from that kind of an idea. That because right now one of their big problems is that it's hard for them to get a Robert Downey Jr. or a Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans or Jeremy Renner even, and Jeremy Renner, you're not too good TV. I don't want to have to tell you that. Scarlett Johansson, you're too good for TV, but that's okay. No, but they want to, it's harder for them to bring these people in. But if they actually sort of build up from the TV show, then they can actually have that cross-pollination going back and forth. I think a little easier. So I would like to see that. So I wouldn't be, and again, you don't actually have to reveal Medusa. You can just have this idea that Medusa and Black Bolt exist. And Vin Diesel, he's chopping at the bit for the Black Bolt part.
I am Black Bolt.
No, he doesn't. Because Black Bolt doesn't talk.
I know, but he's Groot.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so, that would be a bad crossover. Groot versus Black Bolt. No. So anyway, but I would not put it past. And if word is Hellfire, I gotta say, I'm not sure I feel that. Because that wouldn't imply that, first off, Hellfire is a hero, not a villain. He is a good guy. He's Johnny Blaze's, illegitimate kid or something, as I recall. And, and that's not the Ward history we have, and so it would be a little odd if they did do that, but we'll see what they do. Or maybe they'll make him some other character, But it's just odd it was an odd image to show. But like I said, if they do a bunch of Marvel tie-ins, then if they show one of Phil Coulson with turning green, then we know that that's not that's something else they're showing there. Anyway, so moving right along. Want to talk Jessica Jones?
Yes.
Okay, so enough of the foreplay. Let's get right to the nitty-gritty. Jessica Jones, 13 hours, 13 episodes. a lot of fun. Definitely a dark and at times gut-wrenching show to watch. Did not soft pedal the rape at all, and like I said, I gotta say, man, Kilgrave or Kevin, let's call him Kevin, which is somehow a sillier name than Kilgrave, you know. Kevin Davidson, little Kevin Davidson. He is so a classic sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's scary is how he almost gets you to empathize with him, almost gets you to believe his story, how he's the victim, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, even when confronted with what he has done, he's still, no, I was just a kid. I was throwing a tantrum. You don't leave. And it's like, you made your mother burn her face with an iron. You were cruel and monstrous and have been for a very long time. But David Tennant is just that good of an actor, and it is just that well written that, you know, when he is locked up there and he's giving you his side of the story, you know, you almost want to believe him. You almost want to say, is there something going on there? Although, you know, kind of an interesting spoiler in this. So here's a big spoiler, kid. We of course learn that Jessica is immune to his powers, and when
eventually
we do learn this. But you know, when she has the scene where she talks to Patsy and they're discussing, you know, could we make Kilgrave into a hero, you know? And the big thing is that you would never be able to know if he would just snap and use his powers on you. But of course, he can't use his powers on her anymore. And she hadn't realized that, but it sort of makes this point that had she gone along with him, had she realized that at that time, that she was immune to his powers, then maybe she could have done that. But then again, she would also have then had to live with a rapist, you know, forever and keep him in check. And, you know, that would not be good. So, you know, it was, you know, and like I say, this is really such a powerful show. I mean, really, It really is. I mean, from you know, on so many levels. Although, you know, as a nerd, you know, you do always sit there thinking, well, one of the things that I think is interesting is that, of course, you know, the reason why it has the resolution it has is because Jessica drives Kilgrave to do. Essentially, if Kilgrave didn't power up, which is spoilers, Kilgrave powers up. If he doesn't become more powerful, he doesn't start manipulating large groups of people all at once, you know, the outcome wouldn't have happened. You know, that until he gets to that point where now he's a known quantity, because he had for years hid, and you know, and that of course I think was important because. You know, that's always the thing. You know, he keeps on going into these penthouse apartments and, you know, manipulating people. But, you know, the odds of him walking into a penthouse apartment and, you know, the person on the other side of that door having similar or even more power than him in the Marvel Universe is not that unlikely. You know, let's be honest here. There's, you know, there is always the chance that he's going to open the door and there's going to be Powers Booth. And maybe he can control Powers Booth. But then again, you know, when you're trying to control a sociopath, you know, because, you know, and it's just something I wonder, because the Purple Man's powers always worked on persuasion. They weren't specifically mind control. He made you want to do something. Now maybe they're altering the version of this, but, you know, the idea that someone like Grant Ward, you know, you could make him do something, but how do you keep him from the second he wants to just, you know, kill you? It's like, I don't know. I wonder. I mean, maybe he was just that powerful. But I gotta think it was risky. You know, and that's what I'll say. It was risky what he was doing. And of course that's what happens, is that he eventually pushes it too far, and now everyone knows who he is. So when we get our final reveal, Jess gets to walk free because he controlled a dozen cops, and they made the point that if they had a law enforcement officer who could testify to this, that would be admissible, and now they do. Now we had a dozen cops who were all, of course, why Simpson's testimony wouldn't have worked, we don't know, but
who knows where Simpson's at?
Well, Simpson's back off with Kozlov, and I'm sure we'll see him in The Punisher or Daredevil next season. Because and I'm glad they didn't. I'm not quite sure where to go with Nuke, because Nuke as a super soldier experiment from the '60s was interesting, because of course he was the Vietnam era Captain America concept. That was the idea. And taking him away from that, I don't know. I guess it works on some level. Certainly, he knows we have more than our share of similar quagmiry wars in our world nowadays. But I do think that there was something to him being much more of a Captain America analog that maybe we lose a bit in this origin. But and to that extent, it was interesting to see. And it's interesting to see, the Reds being non-placebos, because in the book that was actually the thing, is that they'd given the Reds, had given the Whites, had given the Blues, but they were actually placebos. They had just sort of Faustused him into believing, that these were controlling him, that this was the source of his powers, etc. But of course, we have Patsy Walker take one, and she gets powers. So it's not a it's not a placebo. It is definitely a bright red gelatin capsule with superpowers that you chew. Apparently, you don't just swallow; you chew them.
But I was saying to you, do you think Patsy's going to use that to give herself a little bit, a little advantage, and maybe put on a Hellcat costume?
Well, I don't know if we're going to get to the Hellcat. I hope we get to the Hellcat costume. I'm a little disappointed. We saw the Jewel costume. We never got to see Jessica in it.
This Jessica would never wear that.
Yeah. Well, that's your that's your MCU. Although I'll say this much, it's an interesting point about this, is the fact that Jessica was screwed up before Kilgrave. Because we see, in her flashbacks, when she's the sandwich, for Super the sandwich, but that she is, she's drinking and she's, not focusing in her life and just sort of moving around and, going through. Yeah, well, of course,
she had trauma before Kilgrave, where her family died, and then the whole thing with Patsy and her mother.
Yeah, no, and truth be told, but but actually, what my point is that in the fact that it is that she was already messed up before Kilgrave, and it's easy to blame Kilgrave for her status, but actually I think that's kind of the point, is that Kilgrave is her latest trauma. It's not the primary source of her trauma.
Yeah, he just made it worse.
Because he is evil and horrible, and I would say probably one of the best villains since Loki. I mean, honestly, I think he's actually, and which is kind of like, that's kind of the annoying thing about, okay, big spoiler, turn off the radio if you haven't seen it yet. And it's not a radio, it's an iPod or a phone or a computer. But big spoiler. When she kills Kilgrave at the end, when she kills Kevin, I did not see that coming. I mean, I get why they sort of wrote it into that she had to kill him. Mm-hmm. But, you lose such a powerful character. I mean, honestly, I would have been much happier to, because what I thought is that I thought she was going to crack his jaw, basically break his jaw. Now he can't talk. Now he can't command anybody. And then you get him, then the next scene is him and Kozlov, him in the hermetically sealed room, and them saying, "No, Mr. Davidson, let's see what makes you tick," and get all evil in that, which is, in many ways such a more horrible thing, and in many ways maybe what he deserves, but the kind of circle of hell that you shouldn't wish upon people, although we often do. But and so they killed David Tennant, and now although I can probably see David Tennant maybe not wanting to get into another genre piece that he's stuck in for decades more. Although he survived Doctor Who, he may not want to be a Marvel villain for another 10 years, but they can always bring him back in flashbacks, so that would be good. I was a little sad. Okay, things that have disappointed me. I'm sad to see this epic villain Kilgrave go. Honestly, and to me, it was kind of like when they put Kingpin in jail. That at the end of Daredevil, that it was like, oh yeah, spoilers for Daredevil too. But if you haven't seen Daredevil yet, folks, that's on you. When they put Kingpin in jail, I think, well, now we lose we lose what the Kingpin's power was. The Kingpin's power was he was this man behind the scenes, no one knew about. Now everyone knows about him, knows he's a criminal, knows he's a mob boss, and he's going to jail. Now, of course, he could probably hire Hogarth and get off, which... Hey, that's the crossover I want to see. I want to see Hogarth on
Daredevil.
I want to see Hogarth on Kingpin's defense team. I think that's going to be awesome.
Did you realize that's a character too? But in the comics, Hogarth was a guy.
Oh no, I didn't. I did not know that.
And I think what was it? I think Power Man and Iron Fist worked for him every so often. I think during the Heroes for Hire era.
Oh, okay. Well, good to know. So there we go. So that's our Hogarth, and that'll be our in for Heroes for Hire later. Because as we saw, a lot of people need to hire a hero, and now Jessica is out there as a hero, and even though she doesn't see herself as one yet.
That would be interesting for the Luke Cage series. Like if we see the beginnings of Heroes for Hire, but it's like him and Jessica because they haven't introduced Iron Fist yet.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to Iron Fist, and that And that I think is like one of the I won't say it was a problem, but it was an aspect of the limitations of the Jessica Jones story is that you can't Jessica Jones has to be the hero of her own story.
Yes.
You can't have which means that every time you brought in a hero, you had to either which is why we couldn't have Daredevil come into this, because if Daredevil comes into it, he either is going to be mind controlled, which makes Daredevil look weak as a hero with his own series, or he is going to save the day, which robs Jessica of her autonomy. So you needed this to be Jessica's story. You needed Jessica to be the hero and the one person who couldn't be controlled. And of course, it was actually a really great aspect of this that they made it that rather than although the science isn't perfect, the science is never that good, rather than pheromones making it a virus, because of course the virus, it lasts, the virus, after he walks through a room, maybe then he could control people with his voice, which is what we saw as he expanded his powers. But of course, without changing the fundamental nature of the virus, it's not actually making him any stronger. It's just making him produce more of the virus, which means that since Jessica already had essentially gotten an immunity to him, he wasn't going to be able to control her. So all the upping of power was never going to make him be able to control Jessica. It was just going to be able to make him control more and more people. Oh, and I have to say, I was okay. So he gets the final power up. He screams and all this stuff. Were you a little disappointed he didn't turn purple at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, I really wanted when we got to him at the end that he would be purple. I really wanted a purple man. I know it's comic booky, I know it's silly, but you had a perfect end. Oh, and now he's purple. It's even a real color you can turn. So it's
I think the whole reason they did that though is to make him more menacing, and it's like it's just this guy in a crowd. He could be anyone who can control
Oh, yeah,
minds.
yeah.
If he's purple, he sticks out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No. It definitely worked. I'm just saying, I was just a little disappointed because I knew we were getting right to the end. I knew because we're right at the end of the story, and if he's gonna turn purple, this is the perfect end for him to turn purple. But no purple. But that's okay. We still enjoyed the show.
But how creepy was it when Kilgrave bought Jessica's childhood home and made it up exactly the way it was, when she lived there? The furniture, the posters in her room, everything.
Yes, very, very creepy. Which I think was the point, is that, hey, this guy, kind of a creep. If you think this is a romantic gesture, you're probably a sociopath. But that's the thing, and of course, it's the basic problem of being a sociopath, that you don't really know what romance is. You don't know how to endear people to you. You think, oh, I'll do this, and she'll love that. It's like nothing about this person's life is going to, make this seem like a good idea. Mm-hmm. It's like this. If she had happy memories in her childhood, maybe, but the fact of the matter is, as we later saw, even her happy memories were actually just manufactured. They were just the half-remembered, feelings of loss. They weren't the real depictions of her family, a little disappointed that the neighbor didn't have premonitions, because I thought that would have been cool. And just the idea that there are more powered people out there. That I think is the thing with it, is with Kilgrave in this, and why it does run into this problem that, there are powered people out there. And the fact of the matter is, we know there are powered people out there. We know there are magic users out there. Because we see Doctor Strange. It's just coming in a year or two,
Yeah.
Magic is here. And, but that's the thing, and I think that's the point, is that, you can't, it's only a matter of time before, a guy like the Purple Man walks into an apartment where Daimon Hellstorm is living, because hey, that's this universe, that's this storyline, and
Well, I told you last night. I said I would love for the MCU, make it a Netflix series, make Daimon Hellstorm like the Marvel Universe Constantine.
Oh yeah, well I would love to see it, and it's actually Daimon Hellstorm. We always call him Damien because of the Omen, but actually his name is actually Daimon Hellstorm. And he actually predates the Omen. So when they named Damien, they were actually probably trying to make him sound like a Daimon, because Daimon was the son of Satan first. He actually predates the Omen series.
But it's like, Constantine has issues. Try being the son of the devil.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I'm actually really looking forward. And I like the son of Satan as a character, just because he does jump between, and especially in their modern versions of him. Although, for God's sakes, put a shirt on, young man. The having him jump between hero and villain, working with the bad guys, working with the good guys. But of course, that's always the thing with magic users, is that, they are, they're not bound by standard morality. Even when they do good, they're not necessarily following, anything, because of course magic is about cost, and if you pay the cost and you get to alter reality in some way, and that's what makes it interesting.
And plus he's the son of the devil, so you could have scenes with him fighting his darker impulses, if he's fighting someone to kill them or.
Oh no! The Daimon Hellstorm series, that would be awesome. The basic, I think one reason why they don't have that in this right now is because they don't want to trot on the toes of the Doctor Strange movie.
Oh yeah, they're waiting for Doctor Strange.
Yeah, you can't have Daimon Hellstorm, you can't have Doctor Druid, you can't have any of these guys before Doctor Strange shows up, because it's like, okay, now we got Doctor Strange, now we can really look at the mystical universe. Although, like I said, man, although I could be wrong, they could put Monaco, the Prince of Magic, in Agent Carter this season, which would be awesome, because they've been playing him up, man. He even got a shout out in the on the Uncanny Avengers annual. I don't know if you noticed that when they go to the bar with no name, they have Monaco's poster on the wall. You know, so or maybe we can get Agatha Harkness in
Agent Carter.
That would be awesome. Actually, that would be really awesome. And you know, you don't even have to reveal that she is, you know, the most powerful witch in the world. You just have to have her wander past and you know, just have her in the scene. Just have weird things happen around her. You know, as she sips her tea. You know, I'm just going to sit here and drink my tea, as Kermit the Frog would say.
Oh, you know what scene I really wanted to ask you about from Jessica Jones? Well, episode, whatever. You remember when the woman was hiring her? She's like, "Oh, my husband's cheating on me. I need you to get pictures and stuff." Meanwhile, it was all set up because. Yeah. What did you think about it? That they were all afraid of powered people and. Oh
well, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you know, hey, isn't that the whole plot of Batman v Superman? Is you know?
Oh yeah.
know? And of course, Superman did a lot more damage than the Avengers did, and the Avengers didn't cause the damage. It just, you know, it's one of those things.
But like Jessica says, that she's like tearing the room apart. She's like, you know, but I don't use other people to work out my issues.
Yeah, well, yeah, crazy. You know, it was. I mean, it was a good thing. It was a good scene. It was a nice bit of backstory. Definitely preps us with. You know, it's something that makes sense. Although, again, it's like, you know, here's what I'll say. It was a weird scene to me in the sense that someone is so obsessed with powered people that they're going to track down a powered people with the intent of killing them.
Exactly. And then she had that gun. I'm like, well, don't you know that the gun might not work on her?
well, but they don't know. Well, that's the thing. Because let's be honest here. You know, bulletproof skin is actually a relatively rare thing. What Luke Cage has, and we actually see how it actually causes problems for him. I tell you that whole the sticking the needle in his eye thing, that was fun.
I know.
Yeah, well, that's actually how you give someone a lobotomy too, is you actually go in through the optic nerve to separate the portion of the brain.
Just in case you were going to do a lobotomy, kids.
Yeah. Well, you know, it actually is a legitimate medical procedure. As when you do a cross hemispherical, they do that for people with extreme seizures. Mm-hmm. The classic lobotomies, those were not good. Those were bad, very bad. But then again, it was done by a doctor who was basically jabbing an ice pick into people's heads. You know, it was not the. It was really not that well thought out, but actually neuroscience has progressed to the point where they actually have found some uses. So you actually may see someone who has had a hemispherical lobotomy to control massive seizures, and they're actually it's a very good thing for them. But Luke Cage, they drain the fluid off his brain, but you know. And that of course is a real problem, is that, you know, if you get swelling in the brain, you know, and you can't relieve the pressure because you can't get through his skin, you know, that causes problems. And that is what we got here, is that, you know, he's very lucky to be alive because you get the swelling in the brain, he has the seizure, and they have to do something. And going along the optic nerve was a pretty smart move on that part, so that was pretty cool. It's you know, it's not easy being a superpowered person. And actually, you know, I liked the fact that they had Luke Cage leave at the end, because we really do have this problem if we are going to get a second season of Jessica Jones, which I think people are going to demand.
Oh yeah,
you know, because this was so good. This was so good, and it is. You know, I mean, this is very much this not only is this Marvel's Breaking Bad, I think this is like the feminist Breaking Bad, you know, because this was such a film about both the difficulties of living in a world of, you know, as a woman, you know, and you know, the difficulties of rape survivors in general. Both, you know, with the abortion scene and the description of basically every time I feel it growing in me, it's like he's raping me again. I mean, that is, you know, it's powerful stuff. No matter how you feel about it, it's something that's got to give you pause. Just being in these people's worlds, feeling that powerlessness. But it's sort of this thing that it's kind of an ironic aspect of the Jessica Jones story that she starts out in this world, but really, if you look at her modern depiction, she's kind of the Sue Storm of the Avengers. She's kind of the mom of the Avengers now. She's she's got little Daniel. Or Danielle, she's got her baby, and that's what's important to her, and she's got her husband Luke, and she's all domesticated, and it's like, man, I don't want my Jessica Jones domesticated, man. I kind of want her to be, a little more invisible woman, a little less invisible mom,
I think the problem is she went from her own solo book to a team book, and you can't, you don't always get the characters, all the in-depth characterization you really want when people are on the team books.
Well, yeah, and what it is that she kind of faded into the background, very much so, and and it's kind of, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion about this as it goes on, and maybe that's something that Marvel's going to sort of, with the success of Jessica Jones, move her more into the forefront. Getting clean and sober is important, though. I do think that her no longer being alcoholic would be nice. Although, man, I gotta tell you, as a drunk myself and a bourbon drinker, they're playing with the bourbon always bugged me, which is like, where she goes in and she says, "Give me the cheapest bourbon you got," and she gives her 101 Wild Turkey, which is by no means a cheap bourbon. Now, they did later show that she was drinking Heaven Hill, which is an inexpensive bourbon. It's not as it was interesting to me just seeing the brands that they were flashing up, and for example, like when she was talking about, you saw her put like she put Jim Beam in a thermos, and she mentions to Luke that it's the cheap stuff, which of course again Jim Beam is not particularly cheap bourbon. But then he actually pulls out the Maker's Mark, which of course is made by Jim Beam and is actually their higher end thing. So, well, this is the good stuff. So I wonder if that was product placement, that you did have that tie-in. And actually, Heaven Hill, Jim Beam, and Maker's Mark, all three are actually owned by the same company. So they're all three bourbons, and that's like their gradations. The cheapest is Heaven Hill, the mid-range standard is Jim Beam, and then Maker's Mark is their high-end product. So, and this was the other thing that kind of bugged me. Just to go into little things that kind of bugged me. When she has the fight with Luke, she doesn't have any cuts, any bruises. He pulls her through a wall and no scratches on her. And I just couldn't help but thinking, well, we've seen her basically, she gets hit by the bus and she's got a bruise. She gets punched by, she's gotten cuts and bruises throughout this, and yet when she gets done with fighting with Luke, she really has no damage. And I thought that was a little odd, although I guess maybe they just didn't want to have her have too much damage going into her fight with Kilgrave, but it did strike me as that was kind of an inconsistency.
Yeah, and I don't know how quickly, but didn't she say she heals quick?
Yeah, she does say she heals quick. Yeah, so she clearly has some level of a healing factor. Because obviously, you couldn't be doing that without bulletproof skin and not have a healing factor. But when she's fighting, even you don't see any blood on her. She doesn't have any cuts or scrapes. And maybe they can say later that that's because as much as he was being controlled by Kilgrave, he was pulling his punches. But I don't know. It was a good fight though. It was a great fight. I'll say that. That was probably the best fight scene in the series. The fights in this are not as good as they are in Daredevil. I think Daredevil really had much better fight choreography. And I'm not quite sure why that is, that they don't have quite as good fight choreography in this as they do on Daredevil, but it was...
Well, I don't know if it's just the nature of, these were powered fights, so how much special effects do you want to put into it? Figure out the physics and stuff. Daredevil, it's just, no power, so you can just...
Well, yeah. Well, it's all the martial arts moves, yeah. And I guess neither one of these two are martial artists, so that's the thing. So, but it makes me kind of really want to get to the Iron Fist series because, man, that's real martial arts then. So I want to.
Oh yeah.
I want to see some great wushu drunken fist backflips and whatnot. So that'll be good. But But yeah, so it's but Jessica Jones is just a fantastic series, and I kind of the problem with Jessica Jones now is to do a second season, because they have to keep the relationship with Luke at bay, because that is a domesticating force. And although her being in a relationship with Luke is not a bad thing, and in fact, I think that maybe is why they had her kill Luke's first wife in this. By the way, did we ever get a reveal in this? Because I don't remember. Did we ever really get a reveal as to how his wife had that disc? Or had that?
I don't think, but don't you think they're probably going to go into more detail with that in the Luke Cage series?
Yeah, well, obviously they're going to, and obviously, I get the feeling that Luke and Jessica and all this, that it's this power, these what is it, IGH Corporation?
Yeah.
That's the other. Growth hormone, Inhuman growth hormone. There we go.
There you go. Yeah, because they've done mutant growth hormone, so yeah, that could be it. Yeah, but I just wanted to ask you: do you think that they're all going to be tied into that IGH? Jessica, Luke, maybe even the chemicals that hit Matt. Maybe it wasn't intentional, but maybe they were part of IGH.
Yeah, well, I get the feeling that it wasn't intentional. I think, but
it wasn't. But
yeah, well, I get the feeling, like I said, maybe it's Inhuman growth hormone. I mean, it's and I think that Kozlov's going to be a part of this too. Yeah. Because he's part of IGH. That's correct. Yeah, that's how we learned about IGH. I think that Kozlov is part of a group that's been trying to manufacture super soldiers, probably since El Gordo, when they when they take the last bits of super soldier serum and Steve's blood, and they send it to Palo Gordo, I believe, was the location of the where the general played by Agent the guy from Men in Black. I'm blanking on his name.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. That they're gonna they're sending it to Palo Gordo, where they're going to try and recreate the super soldier serum. So obviously, since World War II, they've been trying to recreate the super soldier serum. We know that that's what Banner was working on. So obviously, there's a lot of interest in superpowers in this universe. Obviously, since Captain America, since they fought the Red Skull and super weapons and all that stuff. So it's an interesting line of thought, and yeah, I mean, I think definitely we're going to... Well, here's the thing. IGH might not have caused Jessica's thing, but she...
it might be like Daredevil. She might have got hit unintentionally with their stuff.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, that's the thing. Well, it might have even just been that when she survived, they realized, and it's probably going to have some kind of shield tie,
Oh yeah, maybe we could get some start getting some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on some of these series.
Yeah, well, I think after the first season, I think you're going to see a lot more tie-ins with everybody. Yeah. Because I get the feeling that like I say, I would have liked to have seen Kilgrave taken away in in the Inhuman gel.
Yeah.
Something like that, just to have him be a character that exists still. But I understand why they had to kill him, and I understand why David Tennant probably wanted his character to be killed.
Yeah, but how awesome would that have been if he would have been on, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would have been awesome. That would have been very, very awesome. Yes. No, I would really like to see that come, I would really like to see where this goes, because, and for what it's worth, he's dead, but his body's still there,
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure someone's going to want to, I mean, heck, look at Hope. She wanted to figure out what that was, and was there a way she could, take that and make something good out of it,
Maybe IGH is going to come in and sweep him up.
Well, I'm sure they will, and I'm sure that, or I would not be surprised to see that IGH has ties to Powers Booth. I would not be surprised to see IGH get a call out in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because I think that's the whole thing about the cross-promotional aspects. I think once they put Jessica Jones out there, Now that she's had her own moment to stand and be in the spotlight, now they can bring in the rest of the Marvel Universe, Because now, when she teams up with Daredevil, it'll be a team up with Daredevil. It's not going to be Daredevil or Luke Cage coming in and saving the day. It's going to be her team up. And the same thing will happen when you get Luke Cage. When Luke Cage gets his own series, he has to be the hero of that series. Jessica Jones can be a team up, but, it's going to be... He's going to be the hero. He's going to be the one that comes into it. And, I think we're supposed to get Misty Knight in there. That's going to be an interesting story. I'm wondering if they're going to give her the arm all the way. Although that was actually one thing that I did want to say. It was kind of, I understand why they put Simpson in there. Because they wanted to have this IGH reveal for later. But do you think it's kind of odd that, as luck would have it, the cop that Kilgrave randomly selects also happens to be the super, this ex-super soldier character,
Unless Kilgrave did his homework and he knew that.
Yeah, maybe. Well, he did have the device, and that theoretically could be. Actually, that kind of makes sense then. That's the thing. Yeah, if we want to no-prize it, so maybe he. Because he has the flash drive, so he knows about the other experiment, and he knows.
He sent her to kill. And he sent her to kill. He sent him to kill Misty. Not Misty. Patsy, and he probably knew she had upgraded security, so he thought, maybe the super soldier can find a way in.
Well, not only does she have upgraded security, but she also has a superhuman best friend.
Yeah,
and whom he knows he can't control, which is why he's not going there himself. Because he doesn't want to run the risk of running into Jessica and having Jessica, turn into a little purple blob on the floor, which was always well within her power. It was interesting. Although, so if we work it out that was intentional, and then that's cool, and that of course leads him back into the super soldier program. Which is going to get him more to being the nuke, and I'd love to, I would not be surprised to see Simpson showing up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. either. Because now he's out there, and that actually seems like a pretty good fit. Simpson, Nuke versus Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Maybe Ward will try to recruit him.
Yeah, or they're going to or someone's going to send Nuke up against Ward, and that will be.
Oh.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm really liking. Where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going right now. But I really love Jessica Jones. This was just such a great series. And, as good as Daredevil was, I actually think Jessica Jones was better. I think, as far as story goes, I think that Daredevil's story was really good. But I think that, at the end of the day, it was a much, well, let me put it this way. Daredevil was a much more known story, I think. I think the Jessica Jones story was newer to me, and so it was a little more interesting.
Well, and you know what else I think got you is I think Jessica Jones had more random stuff from the Marvel Universe. Daredevil was just like Daredevil and the Kingpin.
Yeah, and that's true too. And although, man, got a shout out for Zodiac in the penultimate episode. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The most, I did because it could mean nothing, but it's one of those things like, whoa, why are they mentioning Zodiac? And just so strongly to say the Zodiac, the Pisces are the most compassionate signs of the Zodiac. And it's like, either Zodiac is just this huge red herring that they keep on throwing out to people just to say, oh, they said Zodiac again. They said Zodiac again. Which I can totally see the writer saying, oh, have someone say the word Zodiac, because it just drives the nerds into a frenzy.
Yeah, but I mean, they had an Easter egg for them in Daredevil, too, so
I'm thinking... that. Yeah, well, they did do that. And I do think that, Zodiac could show up somewhere in the Powers Booth organization, as Hydra is just one tendril of. It would be interesting to see that, but when they had her say that, it was just like, wait, what? But of course, there's no reason for that Zodiac to have any meaning, because it's this random person who lives in Jessica's building,
Yeah.
I was actually really sad when they killed Ruben, though. Because I actually was thinking, because he made this mention about his Beatles.
Yeah.
Which actually, now that I think about it, maybe he was talking about the music group. Oh, yeah, so that's what he was talking. Okay. So because you got the headphones. So, oh, okay. Now it actually makes it a little more. I'm thinking he's got like just this whole like beetle farm, and he's an etymology. I was thinking, oh wow, is he going to be Humbug? You know?
Oh, jeez.
He was in Heroes for Hire. He's actually, an interesting villain, as villains go. He's got that basic, he controls insects, so he's got that Ant-Man power, except he doesn't shrink. But, you can do a lot with that. But I thought that, but yeah, so his Beatles collection, so yeah, except the Beatles collection. I don't know, I have to rewatch it, see if he was talking about the Beatles or Beatles. So, but we know he's not the Beatles, so we'll leave it at that. Oh boy, yeah. So, but it was good. It was really good, and I'm looking forward to see where it goes next season. I'm hoping we do get more with Patsy and IG8. And it'll be nice to see her have a story that will expand beyond her trauma. That's the thing. Is like this was very much her trauma story. This was her origin story, and this is her trauma. And then the next season will be her becoming more and more a hero of her own.
I would just love if season 2 of Jessica Jones opened up with her like sitting in an AA meeting, sitting there all annoyed, listening to these people talk.
Yeah, well, because the girl has even though she can, obviously handle it, probably because of her superhumanity, it's still problematic because she's still drinking to get away from something.
Yeah.
And of course, the problem with drinking to get away from something is that it's still there when you sober up. And and I really want to meet her. I still want to meet her psychiatrist because they mentioned him or her, them, that person, but they never got to see them. So hopefully she's still. Actually, what would be nice to see next season, it should open up with her on the couch.
Yeah.
And Ty Burrell in the chair. That's what we want.
Or make it a woman now. Carla Sofin, Moonstone.
Oh. No, you know what? No, you can't do that to poor Jessica Jones, make her psychiatrist be Carla Sofin. Oh man, no, that would just be wrong. Although would certainly have the interest in the problems of powered people.
Yeah, then you could bring Moonstone in as a villain.
Yeah. No, it would be it would make perfect sense, but just be one more horrific betrayal to give to poor Jessica. I'm going to be a little protective of Jessica now. I would much Ty Burrell, Doc Samson, they've made him into kind of a jerk over the years, and he'd certainly be exploring superpowered people for his own gain, but for his own desire to be a superpowered person himself. But if we're going to have an exploitive psychiatrist, I'd rather it be Dr. Leonard Sampson than Dr. Carla Sofin, because Dr. Carla Sofin talked people into killing themselves. So
she could be the big villain of season 2.
So it'd indeed be the big villain of season 2. So, and now that you've said that, I would not surprise me if they don't do that. We lost our villain. We lost the Purple Man who could talk people into doing stuff. This is a way to get another villain who talks people into doing stuff. Yes, and it is a Kree Moonstone that she has, so it's all legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So now you know what? Now I think Phil, mark your words on that. Her psychiatrist is Carla Sofin. I think that that's going to be too delicious for them to pass up.
Have it for free.
There you go. Oh boy! So that I think we have. This has been another long episode of SuperConnectivity. Is there any more to talk about, Phil?
No, I think we hit it all. We can't blame Rob this time.
Nope, this is all me. This is all me and my big. But we had a short roundup this week, so it's opposite day here on Tiny Toons. And
we had like 13 episodes of Jessica Jones to cover.
Oh yeah. And I'm sure as soon as we hang up, I'm going to be, and I wanted to talk about this and that and the other. But anyway.
Exactly.
But we can talk about Jessica Jones until Agent Carter starts. So. And by the way, apparently there was a little trailer that dropped recently that was pretty good. People are talking about.
Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah. And
do you see the Black Panther in there?
Oh yeah, he looks good. Good Black Panther. There's rumors that there is a guy in red running in one scene that might be Spider-Man.
I think it was either yesterday or this morning I saw a meme online that they were just showing pictures from the trailer, and it just says crap, 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 and then the last picture is J. Jonah Jameson, and he says, "Give me pictures of Spider-Man."
Well, which is, and it's the good J. Jonah Jameson too. It's the one from
J.K. Simmons, yeah.
From the real Spider-Man movies, not the... Yeah, as I say, every so often you joke about how bad a film was until someone makes a really bad one. Now, I'm not saying Amazing Spider-Man was... or Amazing Spider-Man 2, because I never saw Amazing Spider-Man. I only saw Amazing Spider-Man 2. Although the parts I've seen of Amazing Spider-Man was not that good. I gotta say Raimi's Spider-Man was better, I think, from character and story, and just from the fun aspect of it, Like I say, the first scene in Roger Corman's Fantastic Four, bring your telescopes, bring your sense of wonder, and remember, and most of all, have fun. These are comic books. They're supposed to be fun. Even Jessica Jones, as dark and as painful as it was, still had fun. There was still a lot of fun bits in there. There was a lot of jokiness in parts, They didn't do, and when they went for the somber tone, and they got all somber and deep. But then they had, like when the very end, when Patsy's got the headphones on so she can't hear Kilgrave, and but she's, going there to look like Jessica Jones, and then he says, "Show me your face," and he shows her face, and he goes, "Oh, it's Patsy," which is, "It's Patsy, I really want to be a friend." So there's humor in there, and there's joy, and, you have to have fun with the inherently ridiculous concept of superhuman people,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the reasons why, they didn't put real superhumans in the Watchmen, because, except for the one, because, it's ridiculous to have superhuman people. And, if you want to be all dark, all brooding all the time, you can't have it be that ridiculous. But it is ridiculous, and it is great and wonderful, and it was a great story. And, and now we're going to end for real, because actually you pulled me back in, Phil. Or maybe I pulled you back in. One or the other. But now I got that song stuck in my head. I really want to be it. Oh, boy. And you know what I really want? I want Netflix to do, like, the very special It's Patsy Christmas episode, or something, or an It's Patsy reunion episode. Because they did that with Horsing Around, where they produced, like, little... Like, they did the Christmas episode of Horsing Around that they showed, and they did like an old horse. This is BoJack Horseman, which is another Netflix series that I love. But they got to do some interstitials with Patsy. Just do a little side Patsy project. But anyway, if you would like to see a side Patsy project, or if you would like to talk about any of this nonsense I spoke about today with Phil, you can write to me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at Charlie Esser, CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. And Phil, where can they rant at you about the nonsense that I have to put up with every week listening to my podcast?
Well, if you want to get a hold of me and help me come up with some rules for the SuperConnectivity drinking game, I'll give you the first one. Every time Charlie mentions Roger Corman's Fantastic Four, take a drink. You can email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com, and on Twitter, I'm at nightwingpdp.
Okay, and give us your ideas for the upcoming Marvel vs. DC Ultimate Smackdown between Lilith Hellfire and Charlie the Professor Esser. Coming in January. Oh, hey! That was one thing. Jessica Jones's accident happened on January 20th, which is my birthday.
Wow.
Oh, wow! Isn't that cool? Yeah. I remember. Oh, no. That was Kilgrave's accident. Kilgrave died on my birthday. Or supposedly. Yes. But that was January 20th. They had listed that in there. Yes, because So, I just thought that was a cool random date, and it's like, oh, it's my birthday. So there we go. And that is our final connection. That ties me into the MCU now. I'm part of it forever. Yay. Good night, everybody. Connect with us again next week.